So divine timing is a part to this whole thing. We talk to people about, well, let's pray for a miracle. Let's do some manifestation concentration exercises. People dig stuff when they get something out of it. So they've turned God into kind of like this lotto, I am God. So if I close my eyes and concentrate on a car, I'm exercising the power of God and look at me. That's not how it's done. What God likes about you sitting still and using your mind to create a new car, a job, whatever it is only that you're using your divine power. It's not impressed by what you create. It's not even interested in what you think you create. But if you're obsessed on it, which most humans get obsessed on, the stuff, then you've actually slipped out of the opportunity you had to be in your divine mind. You used your divine mind to have the power to create, yes. But if you focused on the stuff you wanted to create, you've already lost. You lost your mind. So, what's important? Demonstrating the presence of God. How? In everything we can. In our ability to be patient. In our ability to forgive, and so on and so on. Demonstrating that you're different. Everybody's talking about something that happened in the news. And you have a different piece about you. You're not doing it to impress people, because I've seen that too. People that, just talk like this on purpose. Now, in the meantime, their liver is deteriorating because on the outside they speak like this, but on the inside they're like, So it doesn't impress me when people play these kinds of games. So what do we do when it's time to manifest? When it's time to call in, I call it co-creating. There's no real creating that isn't co-creating. If you're not doing with God, then you're on your own, and on your own is separate, and separate is ego. So how can I co-create with God? And one of the tricks that I see us all struggling with is trusting and having faith. Why do we say, pray, ask and believe and you will receive? Why the word believe? And most people leave that out of the sentence. Ask and you'll get is how they turned it, the sentence. Ask, believe, and you will receive. Why believe? Because you believe, your beliefs are what create. And whatever you're receiving is what you believed you would receive. So technically, the laws of manifestation technically are easy. This world's an illusion. You can walk on water. There's no water to walk on. You can get over a divorce because there is no divorce that has power over you. There's nothing that's impossible nor even challenging other than in our beliefs. Because I'm asking for things, but it's my beliefs that will taint or bring it about. So we have to shift into this concept, divine timing, because our concepts of I want to create something are going to get sabotaged by the ego. And the number one area that it gets twisted is that concept of when you get it. What you want and when you're going to get it. Those are the two biggest tricks. Any of us that want to manifest something, watch out. Because if you're messing it up with when and what, you're supposed to only be asking ultimately for the consciousness of God. Seek first the kingdom. So instead of saying I want a car, what I actually want is peace. And peace would bring me a car. Believe it or not. Well, what does peace have to do with a car? Because I don't feel peaceful when I'm walking to work 30 minutes away by drive. By the time I get there, everybody's clocking out. It doesn't make sense. Believe it or not, peace is a car. Unless your reason for getting a car is simply selfish ego-based stuff. So we can learn to create with God or seemingly apart from God. So watch, one obstacle is the stuff you're trying to create. The other is the timing. I want it and I want it now. It didn't happen. What's wrong? As though maybe there's an issue in heaven. They must have run out of it, Or God's trying to bring me my good, but, my ex, they're always keeping me from my good. My genetics, my this and my that, my karma, past lives, and so on. I'm saying that ultimately it's impossible for anything to keep you separate from God because you're not separate from God. Then why does it seem like it? When I don't have good health, it's a manifestation of I believe I'm separate from God. Because if I have God, I can't be sick Because you don't have the presence of God. You're not standing in heaven, at any time has the child of God been in heaven and been sneezing. No time as a child of God in heaven did we say, God, I just need a little more cash. In God consciousness, there are no limitations. So our job is to shift into God consciousness. When we don't practice patience with divine timing, we will slip out of the consciousness of God. So we've all got to work on this whole divine timing. What does it mean? And what we do is we use it as an excuse and say, I'm praying for some really great things, but, divine timing. As though when I surrender to God, it's probably not going to happen because divine timing. Divine timing is all love-based. God wants you to be healthy. God wants us to be, comfortable, have a nice car, and whatever it happens to be. God wants our good. Whether you believe God is a collective consciousness, whether you believe it's an entity, whatever you believe it to be, any God worth its salt, so to speak, wants our highest good. Clearly, humanity is learning the punitive, hateful, vengeful God that created a countless number of souls. It's countless. It's trillions upon trillions. There's no number you can put. An infinite number of souls were created. And in many dimensions, realities, experiences, higher entities, light beings, whatever they're, angels, humans, and so on, throughout time, and then said, for some weird reason, I'm only going to let 144,000 of them come home. That's one of the weirdest notions you could ever have come up with. That's why in numerology, that's why Jesus said, let him who has ears to hear, listen to this. 144,000 will return. Because in numerology, 144,000 is 9, and 9 is the number of mankind. So it means mankind will come home. And only 144,000, which is all of them. Kind of screws up some fundamental traditions, doesn't it? We all get to go home. Well, then why should we even straighten out our lives and get on the path? We're all going to go home anyway. Because between now and the time you realize you're home, life will be hell. You're not going to go to hell. You're already there. Unhappiness is hell. Karma is hell. Any form of penance, payment, struggle, that is hell. And you got to watch because some people aren't going to make it. Which ones? The ones with the mark of the beast. What mark of the beast? 666. Well, numerologically, 6 times 3 is 18. 18 is 1 plus 8 is a 9. So guess who's not going to make it? Mankind. Meaning you decide when you want to go home. Everything's going to happen. Everything's okay. This is a dream. Time doesn't even exist. So the moment we thought we separated, we also went home. So actually, we're only remembering the nightmare of what it was like when we left. This isn't happening. You're not even struggling. So when people say, I'm affirming you're good, we think affirmative prayer means crossing your fingers. I'm affirming that hopefully your good is going to come to you. Even people that truly believe in affirmative prayer may not understand what it means. True affirmative prayer means there's not even an option. You're already okay. And when I affirm it, I'm not affirming hopefully. I'm affirming that we're back to where we started, meaning before we separated and after we separated, you're okay. You can't be sick. I'm not hoping you're not sick. You can't be sick. But these are concepts that humans are not totally ready to settle into yet. We actually think, no. I need to suffer a little longer. Because that's what you're doing. We're addicted to suffering when you don't allow the opposite to come back in. Now that'll tempt us to judge ourselves more, and we don't need that. The bottom line is, know the truth but respect the illusion. Know the truth that you are a holy child of God. You are incapable of being separate. You are incapable of being treated with sexism or racism. It's impossible. But the people that think they're separate from God are in pain, so they take it out on you with those kinds of comments. And the part of you that thinks you're separate allows that to happen. But as we grow and wake up, we say, no, not today. I'm not interested. But I have to actually get that. I have to actually know my goodness. Any doubt you have about your true identity is enough for a foot to get in the door and bring you something other than your goodness. It's not going to come from how loud you tell people you are a great person. It's in our hearts and souls. Ask, believe, and you'll receive. So it's not just you're going to get what you ask for. You're actually going to ask. You can ask 10 things, but you might only get 1 or 2. And 2 of them might come in a form you didn't even expect. 5 of them might not even go well. Why? Because I asked, and then unfortunately, I believed something other than what I had hoped I would be asking for. So when we ask for changes in our life, I'm asking for some healing about a certain thing. I'm asking for a new job. There's something called divine timing that plays into this. And it's very important because as human beings, we actually believe asking for healing of a major disease is harder than healing a basic, simple disease. And that's not how miracles work. The consciousness of God is just whole, perfect love. All the other things we struggle with and ask for help on are our variations of not being in the consciousness of God. Doesn't mean we should blame ourselves and beat ourselves up, but that's the way it is. But they're all the same. They're illusions. We are part of God. But when we don't believe it, we manifest all kinds of crazy things. Hate in various forms. In God, hate doesn't exist and only God is real. So it means that the other things we manifest must be the not so real. But we manifest this notion that one thing is more difficult to heal than another. And as we grow, we start to realize, I am not. I'm affirming that which I am and releasing that which I am not. So instead of, I have this illness and that one and this one's bigger than that one, and no, this is all the I am not. I am not ill in any form. You don't qualify it in terms of one being greater than another, because what that does is it enforces its power. So I am not, and then after I am not, the true I am. I am not subject to the laws of this world. I am not lonely just because someone left me. I am not devastated and depressed because someone doesn't like me. That's what it looks like, but I am not, because I'm not my separate fear-based ego self. Now, get that out of the way and then go to what I am. What I am as God created me. I am happy, I'm whole. Now, I'm asking for that, but it didn't manifest right away. We all have to learn to understand. This concept of divine timing is not because God doesn't think you're worthy. It's only us. When we say divine timing, it's kind of like saying when we get out of the way. Amen. God's divine timing is never, you better ask again. I can't hear you. That's not God. That's not God. It hears us getting more faithful into who we really are. You're not earning God's love. You're earning your own by working on these issues. Now, in the illusion of life, though, when you have, let's say, Abraham and his wife, you will have a child, Abraham. Okay, well, I'm 60, so God, that might not be happening. You are going to have a child, 70, 80. And a person reading Scripture would say, and God tested the faith of Abraham and his wife, Sarah. And then eventually they had a child because God tested their faith, but they held their faith. And aren't they wonderful? And so much so that great gifts came to them and their descendants. They become the Israelites. Wonderful gifts. You guys are the chosen people because Abraham's faith in what? That he would have that child. And other faith demonstrations too. But one, that he would have a child. Even at an old age. It was impossible to have a child at his age. However, why did it take so long? Well, because God was testing. God is not in the sky testing you. God's going, well, technically, it could happen right now. But God honors where we're at. So God says, Sarah, this could happen right now. You ready? And we think Abraham and Sarah are saying, yes, we're ready. Oh no, guys, we have filters. Sarah's body, biology, anatomy might have been saying, give me a minute. Give me a minute. If I'm going to have a child, I'm already of older years, I'm going to need some things to change. Because it's true, in this world, the miracle of God bringing them a child needed the biology and anatomy of her to shift to a high enough frequency to accept a great child. But then there's also apparently no children coming to Abraham and Sarah. No children were ordered. They were done with whatever they were going to have as a family. Now they're asking for a child. So what's interesting is, how do you know? This is what I mean by divine timing. It looks like it's God didn't want it until such and such. But guys, it's us getting the way clear. Now, if you don't want anything great in your life, you don't need any great timing. You can just manifest anything now. You're hungry? Just drive through. I promise you're not getting any nutrients. But just drive through because you want it now. Live that kind of instant, I want instant satisfaction, you'll get nothing or very little. If you want greater, then unfortunately, we have to wait. Not always, but sometimes patience pays off. How do I know if I need to be patient? I don't know. Maybe if it's not happening yet, there's some patience involved. If I say, I would like to manifest $10 more a week, that will seem easier for me to manifest in the illusions of my mind, and I'll do that. If I say, I want to win 5 lotteries before I die, one every 5 years. Oh my God, in the illusion, the odds are stacked against you, and as soon as you win one, it's exponentially multiplied. You can't get a second one, and so on and so on. But it's happened to people. How did they get it? So again, the whole world that's set up, and the world runs on this kind of an automatic trance-like pilot. So money doesn't grow on trees. And so we all go, and so it is. Money does not grow on trees. And we all live in this trance. If you're married more than once or twice or 3, you're labeled as, multiple marriages, probably not a great person. And we go along with it. At some point, when you want a miracle, you're entering a time warp that can change anything. But if you're trying to change something that we believe is magnitude-wise, is huge, then we're going to believe it might take more time. So how do you know that according to the trance of life, the usual formula, Abraham and Sarah were not going to have another child. But then they said, God, I have one wish. We'd like to have a child. We are older, but we'd like to have a child. Okay, it's going to take a while. How do you know that God, Spirit, the angels, etc., how do you know they didn't say, let's have a meeting, in heaven. Huddle. Okay, we have a thing going on. Abraham and Sarah want to have a child. And then there's an angel going, they're old. Yeah, shh. Okay, well, I know. But they want to have a child. And God said yes. God, what were you thinking? Hey, my children, they ask for things. I like it. I love to give them what they want. But weren't you thinking? They're old. Time doesn't mean anything. Age doesn't mean anything to me. All right, huddle. All right, so apparently God thought they should have a child. So here's the thing. Abraham and Sarah have been doing some amazing mind-changing things. Demonstrating faith, demonstrating conviction and dedication to God. So what kind of child are we going to give them? A moron doesn't fit the bill. These are high-level people. Seems to me we have to find not just an average schmo. We have to find a pretty high being. This is how this works, guys. On the other side, they go, well, how's the rotation look? Do we have any souls that are really high vibration, ready to be born right now? No, we didn't have one due for another 30 years. Okay, so God, we have a plan. We're ready. Good news and bad news. Good news is they're going to have that kid. We set it all up. The universe is rotated. We got a child coming around the loop here at a certain time. Bad news is it's going to be 30 years from now. And God's going, I don't care. Time's an illusion. What do I care? Sounds good to me. I told them yes, it's going to be yes. They could have been 586. It wouldn't matter. But understand, when you're asking things that are out of the box, they're out here, out of the box, the universe might seem to have to rotate things into place for you. And it isn't God can't. It's in the illusion. God respects our illusion. If you said, I would like to complete all of my karma from all of my lifetimes in the next 10 minutes. Like what's going to, like, it'd be like, wow, just like all over the place, and then you're dead. And then you got to come back because you're resenting the fact that you died, So what's going to happen? How do they do that? Just be realistic. It isn't God with the challenge of power. It's just be realistic. In this world, I'm ready to have such and such. Well, a raise of 25 cents an hour, those are small gears. They rotate pretty quickly. Yeah, we can probably make that happen tomorrow. Wow, it's just cool. I would like 3 winning lotto tickets in different states tomorrow. Okay, we already had certain people rotated into winning those. Do you know where you've been? We have records on you, man. You don't have any lotteries coming around for ever, So this divine timing concept, is that making sense? Despite being flippant and playful about it, the way I am, but it's really profound if you think about it. Now, did Michael just say you're not going to have a wonderful partnership because it's going to rotate in 5 lifetimes from now? No. The more I shift, the more I actually speed up those gears. But how much did you shift? Well, I started insisting weeks ago to get my perfect partner. You insisting isn't co-creating. You insisting could still be coming from your ego. And ego's not going to bring you a perfect, healthy partner. It'll bring you a challenging one. Spirit's going to then say, hey, listen, you got hijacked. You were wanting to create this person, and they were like 30 years from now, 20 years, 4 years from now, whatever it is. And in the meantime, you're insisting on they be now. So your ego's hijacked you. You had some good that was going to come, but now you're back into your ego again. So that delays your good. It can. Slowing down those gears that were rotating at a certain speed. You want to raise the speed, raise your vibration. Raise your consciousness. Co-create. Even when we seemingly make a dedicated, concerted effort to be healthier people, you can still get caught in the I want it, there's the it, and now. Those 2 issues. When you want it, and now. And that's clearly going to be more like an ego projection. Why do you need it now? Because I'm afraid it'll never happen. You're not saying like Abraham and Sarah, basically, we're dedicated to God, so we think we're ready to channel a really high vibrational being. See, when you just say, okay, I don't want to lose this person, and I think I can keep them in my life, acting like they like me, if I have a kid. That'll hook them. That's not coming from the right place, so the vibration of the child might be different than the one Abraham and Sarah created. Or, there's exceptions to the rules now and again. You might bring in a saint that's going to teach the 2 of you to never do that again. But where are you coming from? And if you're not coming from co-creating with God, then why are you expecting something to be so great? One thing I do know is in my own life, I am aware that these are illusions. The greater miracle and the lesser miracle, those are just perceptions of ours. But I still respect this perception that we have. I know that I can win the lottery tomorrow. And I feel confident that my consciousness is growing, prosperity is growing, everything in my being is going to grow to reflect my consciousness growing all the time. That's, I believe, how we should be. So I'm aware of that. But I'm also aware that there are very few times in my life when I thought to create something and it took longer. I've literally been on tour, and I was on tour once. I shared the story before, but I was on tour once, and a friend, a client, student, friend, they were saying, I have a little bit of money I just got, and I would like to retire, and maybe buy myself a little piece of land, and then have animals and so forth, And I said, okay. And they said, I don't know. They weren't from this country, so they said, I don't know how to find something. Maybe I can find something in America. So I had not really been on the internet before, because this is like 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I had not been on the internet, but I gave it my first shot. So I sat down when I was on tour at this person's house, staying at their house. I tried the internet, went online looking for properties in a certain state or whatever, and I found a couple. So this person that owned the house came up and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, looking for a piece of land, because somebody would like to." And they said, "Well, why don't you have land? Why don't you have a retreat center?" I said, "Well, they cost money. I mean, you need hundreds of thousands to even get a decent property." They said, "Oh, I'll buy it for you." And I'm going, "What? No, I'll buy it for you." So, in that moment, she donated hundreds of thousands to get a retreat that I owned for 10 years. Instantaneously. I wasn't even looking, but back here, it was time. Prior to that, I had a couple of instances where people said, "I'm going to give you money to open a retreat." And I went, "Oh, cool." Now, a lot of us are going to go, "It's divine timing. It's a blessing from God." No, no, no. No, no. I said, "Really? What do you think about this retreat?" "Well, here's what I want you to do." "Oh, thank you. No, thanks. No, thanks." "I'm going to give you money for a retreat." "No, no, thanks." No agendas. No control. No expectations. No weirdness. No. Unconditional or not. So I said no at least twice to big money given retreats for buying places and all that. And this one then was finally right. It was pure, it was clear, and we got it. So I know that there are times when things have happened instantaneously. I was on tour that time and it happened when I got, this person said, "Oh, I'll pay for it." Wow, that's amazing. Then there was, I called my kids. They were adolescents at the time. I called them and I said, "Hey guys, do me a favor. Find a few properties in this area. I'll be home this weekend. Find a few." So they went out, looked at half dozen properties. They called me back and said, "We narrowed it to 10. No, okay, narrow it down to 5. They narrow it down to 5. I got into town, looked at the pictures, narrowed it to 3. I went and looked at those 3 all in the same day. Looked at those 3 and picked one. And I knew it was the right one. I could feel it. In other words, co-creating can happen, big things, instantaneously. But was that instantaneous, or did that not involve also years prior when I said no? Do you understand? Sarah, Abraham, no, for years. And then there's a yes. Michael, property, no, 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 for years. Then it all locks in. And all these pieces line up. And I remember I'm standing at the house with the realtor. We walk to the backyard. There's a hill and property, land, and stream and stuff. And I'm like, "God, this is just beautiful." And they're going, "So what do you think?" And my kids are going, "Well, Dad, there's a couple others that we picked, remember, to look at." And I'm saying, "I'll be right back." And I ran like a 10-year-old. I ran down across the property to the woods that were in the back of the property. I ran into the woods. I'm like, I must just look silly, to anybody if they could see me. But I ran into the woods back there. And I remember there's a little clearing in the woods, right like in the middle. I went and stood there, took a breath, and then I looked up. And all these golden leaves that were turning, it was October, started blowing and spiraling a whirl like above me. And I'm just like, this is the one. This is the property. The feeling, the mind, everything about it, yes. But really, was it instant? There was the building up for it. Let's not forget that. But when I got to it, it was fairly instant. And the realtor and everybody's like, "Wait, don't you want to look?" No. So I can look insane to people when you can look insane to people when you know something's just right to say no to or to say yes to. So divine timing involves so many interesting intricacies in life. But when you stay in the zone and you stay connected to God, what is your priority? You know what my priority is? This feeling when I stood in that clearance. This feeling is what I'm living for. This feeling, what does it feel like, Michael? It feels like happiness, life, love, magic. All these words I could have answered. All things that are synonymous with God. Therefore, I knew this is God. It feels happy, joyful. And we would do ceremonies on that property, and it was just the most amazing thing, the spirals of energy. We had animals that would come from other properties. They would come and get in the middle of our large circles and labyrinths, and they'd just get in the middle and lay there to absorb and experience. It was just constant, the magic. The magic I felt that day continued and only multiplied. So when I go to other projects, it's only happened a couple of times in my life, I was saying, that something didn't manifest instantly. Now, I know the magic that happened by saying no, it didn't happen instantly, and then got that house seemingly instantly. But I have to look at the big picture and realize sometimes something's working and it takes time. So if I say, I want to, I'm ready, I'm going to win the lottery or something. I'm going to get a place called Edenshire that one day I think to create. Okay, great. But that too, when? How do you know that God isn't saying, if you, whoever you are, if you moving to such and such a place, if you winning the lottery, how do you know that your consciousness doesn't need to shift yet to get to that place? Because you don't just get something, you are that thing. You don't just get the lottery, you have to be in the consciousness of the lottery. That doesn't mean you're all high spiritual. Consciousness of the lottery could simply mean you had some good karma from another life, it came around and you won the lottery. But if you don't own that consciousness permanently, you'll end up spending it and being broke again. I want to be the consciousness. I don't want to have a quick fix and then not have the consciousness. See, my conscience wouldn't allow me to do that. I have to be in the permanent consciousness of it. It's exciting to say, well, Michael, if you could just slip into the consciousness for 10 seconds, manifest the lottery, then go back to not caring about anything. That wouldn't be my way. I choose to be in the right consciousness. That's what righteous means, right consciousness. So my winning the lottery is a righteous thing. My winning that property is a righteous thing. My having good relations or team members or a wonderful service that we have, that's got to be my consciousness. I don't want it manifested as a moment. I choose to manifest it as a consciousness. Then it can't be taken away. Where two are gathered in my name, it's like that saying. Or God saying, when you have been joined, a man and woman, they used to say, joined in wedding, that no man can tear apart. Everybody got divorced. What do you mean? If God joins two people, no man can. Everybody got torn apart. You lived, every lifetime that you've lived, you know that out of all of them, you've done this at least once. How did it happen? Nobody can split a relationship that God in matrimony and ceremony puts together, because that's not the meaning. It means that in your heart, when you've chosen to love something unconditionally, that will lock in as permanent consciousness. It doesn't matter. You get divorced, doesn't matter. The consciousness, the love cannot die. So you chose a creation in your life. When you put your love and creation consciousness towards something, if you're really from the right place, it will not be taken away. Nothing you do with God can be taken away. But do it with God. I've always said that's a great bumper sticker waiting to happen, but do it with God. It'd be kind of funny, right? You get all kinds of people, going, But do it with God. Do everything in the consciousness of God. Get in right-mindedness. So what are you trying to create? What are you wanting to create? Well, I want to create this. Why hasn't it happened? Are you holding it in consciousness? Yeah, I always pray asking for it. Not begging, guys. Are you in the consciousness and it hasn't happened? Then I would say to myself, there's a chance that it isn't just an instantaneous, let me pray and have it happen. But if it's that big of a thing, there's a chance I need to do some movement inside. You follow? Because we know the law. You can't manifest if you don't have the consciousness. If it isn't manifesting, maybe I need the consciousness. The consciousness is always going to involve either forgiving something you didn't realize you needed to forgive and clear the old, or rising to a high level. And there's almost nothing that helps you rise to a higher level than forgiveness itself. But I'm ready to go into that consciousness. Michael, how come I haven't manifested a new partner? Maybe because the last three still hurt you in here. Maybe you're still hurting. No, I did a ceremony just yesterday. I took photos of them and I burned them and I was so happy. I put extra diesel fuel on those photos. I lit them up. I fanned it. Oh, I felt so good watching them. Good ceremony, but not good thinking. Forgive. So I would sit and I'm trying to manifest something and it's not happening in my timing. So what do I need to do? I would sit, bring all the beautiful, here it is, I'm visualizing what I'd like to manifest. Great. But at some point, stop and ask Spirit, bring into my mind anything that is in the way. Don't just go, I want. No, wait, let's go ahead and talk about the stuff you don't want to talk about. Bring into my mind thoughts about any event or person that I'm holding grievances towards that are inhibiting this from happening. And you might realize, oh, bloody hell, this is like a circus train. These are boxcars filled with people. Some of them I don't even know. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry to hear that, but you have work to do. Or don't. But don't be asking for the thing you're thinking you're wanting. It's okay. Ask if there's anybody out there that needs to. Let them come forward, guys. Let them come forward and see them. Well, this one shouldn't be. I don't want to think about them. But you're asking, and you should be asking, is there anything inhibiting my receiving of this? Whether it's a book I'm trying to finish, whether it's a project of some kind. John Lennon, and his wife Yoko, they were trying to have a child at one time, and she just kept miscarrying. Now here they are, human beings. He sang "All You Need Is Love." He did also wonderful things for people, equal rights or whatever he was doing in his protesting and all that he did. So isn't he a decent guy? He's saying "All You Need Is Love" and "Imagine." There are lighters. Everybody getting into "Imagine." So this national anthem that you have, how come he can't just want a kid and get it? Why miscarriages? Because they were heroin addicts for years. They were various forms of drug addicts for years. So that got in the way of her biology from manifesting it. But they didn't quit. They went to an acupuncturist who said, all the pulse reading, you've destroyed your body. But you will have a child. Get off drugs. It'll take a couple of years. This is all I'm saying. They had to stop what they were doing, clear the past, and she got pregnant. And how much they both loved that new child, the only child they ever had, right? But they had to clear the past. And the past isn't just the addictions they were into, it was the thinking that brought about the addictions. And that deepened the love then that they had for each other. Oh, they were so devastated, heartbroken each time she had miscarried. They just confused and sad. All this stuff was coming up because they were saying, I don't get it. We seem to love each other. What would be wrong with us manifesting a gift from that love? Well, because you also have done certain things. Abraham, Sarah. It's going to take a little while. You're older, so to us that doesn't mean anything. Age is an illusion. But to your body, it's not. So we're going to work on your body. And we have to rotate the right soul into place. So just be aware of all the different things that might be in the way. And never underestimate the issues, the unhealed wounds that might be part and parcel to what you have to clear. I just believe in that. I believe taking responsibility. Don't blame yourself. Don't say, I must have done wrong. That's not the point. Don't say, I did bad, I did wrong. Just say, if there's anything I need to clear, let it come forward. And here comes a face and a memory. And some of them you're going to go, well, that one doesn't make any sense. Just do it. But I didn't have any issues with them. Doesn't matter. Do it anyway. If they come to mind, any issues, all right? Clearing. And, there's other examples that we could go into like this, but just get the gist of it. The very idea that I'm trying to create something. I remember one of the top few authors in the world, New Age spirituality authors, they came to me for a session. And they were saying, we've been trying to get pregnant and it's not happening. But they're saying, guys, they feel it, mind, body, and soul. I feel it. We're supposed to have a baby. Our guides told us this. We teach all over the world. Everybody knows who these people are. We teach all over the world. And yet our guidance is we're supposed to have a baby. So they came to me and, could you help us do some healing so that the baby, comes about? I tune in. Okay. Because this is one of the other obstacles to creating things. And we think it's just a divine timing issue. But one of the things that sabotages divine timing is misperceiving the guidance. So in this case, they said, we're supposed to, and we feel it, we're guided. And I said, you're not going to have a child. What? That's not very great guidance healing, Michael. You're not going to have a child. You're going to do a project. What you're feeling is that a baby is coming through you, but the baby is a project. And at first annoyed, and then intrigued, and then came the project and, worth millions, Because sometimes we're misperceiving the form. Like I said, there's an it. I want it. What? The baby. Now they're frustrated. Do you think God said, I want to give you an idea. You're going to have a baby, and then I want to watch you squirm? No. God says, it seems to me, feels that you guys are ready for creation. Babies! No. See, that's what humans do. Sometimes that's, we have this penchant for misperceiving the guidance. So then they got it, and they had their project, they didn't have a child. The part that is attached to wanting the child, that part's going to be hurt. That part's going to be angry. That part's going to be frustrated. But still, it isn't the baby, literally. So if you're asking for something and you think, okay, Michael said divine timing, so I guess I just wait a little longer. Please make sure the it isn't being misunderstood there, not just the when. I want it, and I want it now. I want what? To create a project. And they could have started writing that book weeks or months earlier, years earlier. They got in their own way, and it looks like, I guess it's just not time yet. No, you're off on the it. And then that's throwing off your timing. So if I were wanting to manifest something, it isn't happening, I definitely, like the Edenshire concept. It's wonderful. I'm going to a retreat. We're going to have a place where people can live in peace, etc. But I'm also aware that it also means carrying the consciousness of that thing. And if God manifested right here in front of me and said, Michael, you're going to have Edenshire. Yes, I knew it. This is great. And God said, do you want it on the inside or on the outside? Oh, you serious, God? You're going to pull that one on me? You know I'm going to say inside. If you would ever ask or answer outside, even if you get it, I'm sorry for you. Because even if you get it, you got the it, but you didn't get the consciousness behind it. Always go for the consciousness. Always seek first the kingdom. Don't get the property, get the consciousness. Don't get the soulmate, get the consciousness. Don't get anything, get the consciousness. Don't get the lottery, get the consciousness. Seek first the kingdom. Choose a feeling of God, of peace and happiness first. The biggest deterrent for that is human beings think, all right, fine. I'll take the consciousness. Which, of course, means I don't get to have anything, that I want. And that's the ego actually sabotaging your mind. You can have your cake and eat it. When you get the consciousness, understand, believe, and affirm. Oh my God, I sat in meditation. I felt like I wanted to manifest something. And I was going to do it, but then I thought, wait, I don't just want the outside, I want the inside. I want to feel peace and happiness. And so I sat in meditation, and a few minutes later, I felt this wave of peace and happiness. You didn't get it instead of. That's what your head's going to tell you. Now that you get the peace and happiness, you feel this shift, peace and happiness, now, lock and load, man. Now that you're in the consciousness of God, now go and look at manifesting visualization towards the thing you want on the outside. It doesn't mean get this one and ignore the other. But don't ask for the other without getting this one first. Is that making sense? Lock into the consciousness. That's the main difference that I teach when it comes to manifestation techniques. There's people, very, very popular people, that have become popular because they appeal to people's egos, saying what you do is, because you're God, you close your eyes, you concentrate on anything you want, and you'll get it. Oh, I like that. And all you've done is become a little tyrant, I want. What I do differently is, okay, do the same thing. Close your eyes, visualize. But before, center into God. Center into God as a feeling. So center into love and then visualize. Center into peace and then visualize. All I'm doing differently, which is everything. It's a complete 180. And yet it's only one extra added piece. Center into God. Everything, God first. Everything back to God. And it's not a superstition. Dear Lord, if you would find it at all in your heart, could I just have a few dollars because I don't have shoes? It's not begging. It's I am. And when you get into that I am, you should be feeling a shift. If you don't be down on yourself. If I went to shift into I would like to be happy today, but I'm struggling with some things, and I pray, meditate, and it didn't shift, I would actually feel a bit sad for myself. Michael, I'm sorry that you're struggling that much. Picture saying that to yourself. Instead of, darn it, it didn't work. Guys, did. You can't seek God and not find it, but I don't feel it. Why? I guess that's how much I'm hurting today. That's a nice, compassionate way to put it, isn't it? And that's how you should speak to others who aren't manifesting it. Well, what's wrong with you? That's not how, you should be talking to people. Well, I guess you're not there yet. You're not of the consciousness like I am. Oh, well, if you've got the consciousness, you want to, get me that thing for me then. You're high, enough. Well, no. Consciousness. I seek first the kingdom, and all else comes. So think in terms of how then do I get to that consciousness? And in that consciousness, wow, all I did was breathe and imagine peace and happiness, or whatever word you choose. It's a mantra. And then a wave, and I just picture that happening every day. I call it my daily communion exercise. It's a free download on my website. Daily communion exercise. Just download it and practice it. But it's filling up with that feeling. You do it every day, preferably morning and night, but also anytime that you've released and purged some old stuff, come back to that filling up with God. And of course, anytime you want to do visualization, creation exercise, do it, but beforehand, connect with God first. Don't come from a needy place. Don't come from a broken place. That's partly what that means when you hear in the scriptures, if you want to pray and you're holding a grievance against someone, go clear the grievance before you come to the altar. What it means is, in part, is let's own the stuff that's not quite right in our consciousness, bid it farewell, and center into God. So you want to manifest something? Everybody, I could ask everybody in this room, what would you like to manifest? And, different people would, yes, definitely this or this or this. I'm saying, to do that, first be willing to ask, is there anything in the way that I should be aware of? See if something comes to mind. If not, I wouldn't say, excellent, I didn't think there was. What I would do is go, and if there is anything unknown to me, I'm still bringing it to the moment and surrendering it. That's what I would do. And then, now that I'm cleared, I'm ready to center into you, God, replacing the wounds or whatever it is with this holy presence. Breathe it in, breathe it in, breathe it in, feel it. Try to do your best to imagine seeing it and feeling it. I now feel peace and happiness. Even one drop is enough. Centered into peace and happiness. Got it. Now that I'm centered into peace and happiness, what kind of life would I like to see? My finances, my relationship. See, instead of, I'm lonely, I want someone. It's, my loneliness I bring to the altar and surrender it. I breathe in oneness instead of loneliness. I feel a sense of oneness and love for all. And then I visualize what kind of life. And I promise you, most of the time, if you would have done the exercise without centering to God first, made notes of what you'd like to manifest, then center into God and make notes, I promise you they'll look different. Because a lot of times you're going to go, I already have it. I didn't even have to do the part of visualizing, I want someone. Once I realized my wholeness, I'm like, I don't even need anybody. I feel great. I could still choose, but I'm so centered, there's no neediness to it. There's no have to. There's no desperation. I just feel complete. I could say, an illness. I'm ready to heal an illness. So let me do. No. I get into peace and wholeness. And all of a sudden I feel whole. I feel healthy. I could still even have a disease and I would go, and it doesn't feel like it has power over me. Emotionally, I shifted. Instead of, I must heal this. If you're playing a role like a spiritual leader or a person that tells their friends about your spirituality. I read this book, man, it's really holy and spiritual. And then you get sick. There's people looking at you going, I guess that spirituality didn't work. It did work. There are people that, that have done that with me. They've said, Michael, you don't eat what you're supposed to eat to be healthy. And I say, whatever. I'm good. Oh, no, you need to change your diet. No, I feel good, thank you. And then I remember, in more than one occasion, one time there was a particular woman, though I'm remembering, who says, well, you're going to die. No, you're kidding. What she was trying to do was, you deserve to die because you don't eat the way I think you should eat. That's what they were really saying underneath it. And it's like, wow, I'm really sorry that you have that much fear and hatred in you. That you would be hateful that I don't eat your way. It doesn't make sense. But the same happens in politics and everywhere else. Be at peace. I feel very good about who I am and what works for me and doesn't work for me. And I don't pay any attention to what other people do in terms of their, you need to be a Republican or Democrat. You need to, I don't have any of that in my thoughts at all. I can make recommendations if they're asking. And I do believe that in this illusion of life, there are things that are going to be better for most people in terms of our patterned belief systems. So play the game. Know the truth, but respect the illusion. But you don't need to force, and you don't need to fret, and you don't need to be all upset. So when you see your visualizations, you see your centering, you're going to recognize when I center in God, I'm asking for less stuff. Mystics thought it meant you shouldn't ask. Because when we have these really powerful meditations, we find that we're not even asking. That must be the goal. Have nothing. And then they go around preaching to people. Don't eat. Don't have sex. Don't do anything. That's the mystic way. And they misperceived it. What happens is, truth is, as you grow into consciousness, there's less stuff you need. The word is need here. Doesn't mean you don't have stuff, but you don't have the desperation and fear behind it. And then you realize, God, it's amazing. I mean, Jesus manifested it. Oh, no, Jesus, he didn't have anything. When they needed to pay taxes, he said, pay taxes. There'll be a coin and a fish. Catch a fish, open the coin, and the fish, and there'll be a coin to pay taxes. When they say, how did he live? Yeah, but Jesus, he only had a robe and sandals. That was the fashion of the time. Don't compare that to you in your, look at me, man, my three-piece suit or whatever. That was at the time, that was your cashmere three-piece suit. That was it. But he didn't just wear a robe. He wore a seamless, valuable garment. He wore a valuable garment. That's why the soldiers, Roman soldiers, they were casting lots, meaning rolling dice, to see who was going to win the garment they took off of him. Do you think the Romans said, oh, I would like to have the robe of a Jewish peasant guy? No. They knew it was valuable. Jesus was provided for, guys. Well, what about Buddha? He went without. He went without because he was making a point. But Buddha himself did not shame in any way having. He just said, whatever you have, use it for good. It's okay to have. We have to get rid of the notions and programs that spirituality means having nothing. Then why pray? Why meditate? Why are you trying to be at peace? Don't ask for anything. Oh, we're allowed to ask for peace, but not our bills to be paid. In God, there are no needs. Do you understand? In God, nobody goes and becomes one with God and says, but I need new shoes. In God, there are no needs. And even if you're on earth, if you're connected with God, your needs are filled. We just have to practice believing it and also manifesting that. Prove to people that God is here and now. God is not shamed out of money. God is in all things. Every grain of sand has a light frequency behind it. I'm not going to worship the grain of sand. I'm going to worship the light behind it because the light behind it is the love of God. So it's okay. Give thanks for the grain of sand. Give thanks that you are in a house that's got no floor but dirt. Give thanks for the light behind that dirt. It'll become a floor. The floor will become wood, then it'll become tiled, then it'll become marbled. It happens as you grow in the consciousness. But it will not help if we continue to shame manifestation concepts. Please take a few centering breaths. Setting aside all the stuff of the world again. Humility. It's a humble thing to choose to not believe in the limits of this world. Humility does not mean poverty. Not spiritual, emotional, romantic, financial poverty in any way. That's not humility. Humility means saying, I'm not going to listen to the programs of my ego that bring these things about. I'm going to bow humbly my old self. I can receive because I am part of God and I am truly holy. It's okay. If my womb has been barren, I'll manifest a gift of some other kind. If my life seems stark and bare of partnership, I'll manifest something else. I will manifest every day a creation. I will give birth to goodness every day. I'll give birth to smiles. There's some cultures that say that if their villages are having some sort of financial strain, they start tithing more to bring more prosperity to their village. Where we used to believe you had to go and sacrifice an animal on an altar to find God's favor, it was supposed to just be a symbol. Get rid of your old, lower self, and God comes as a natural occurrence. Bow the old self away. So let's take a moment to imagine that we're approaching an altar. And prior to this talk, what kinds of things had we been trying to manifest that hadn't happened? Let them come to mind naturally. Anything you think you might have been trying to manifest. A raise at work, partnership, whatever it is. Picture it. What is it you've been trying to manifest? Look at all the ways that you've been trying to manifest. What praying, begging, techniques, candle lighting ceremonies, anything you've been trying to do. Even the healing and health of a loved one. Could I have done this any other way? In what way was I asking? In what way was my asking looking like begging? In what way was my asking actually continuing the manifestation of this? For example, if I said, God, please heal them from their sickness, I just affirmed that they were sick. Is there any way that my mind has been off? Let that come to me now as I have approached this altar. Before I attempt to manifest something, let me own something that's off. No need to blame or shame myself for this. I just see it. I place this too on the altar now. Oops, on the altar. I'm surrendering my view and viewpoints, my perceptions of this experience. If there's anything else I need to see or know to release, let that come to me now so that I can bring forth this manifestation responsibly. Any needed forgiveness and so forth. And I put this all on the altar. And now the Spirit, Divine Mother of God, lifts it to the heavens to do what she will. I surrender it as unconditionally as possible. Now my chalice is empty. Now my womb of consciousness is open and ready to receive. Father, Mother, God, impregnate into my consciousness oneness with you. I set aside everything else possible. Bring into me the quickening of new life, my new life, prosperity, love, wholeness, etc. Bring me your presence of consciousness. And let's all imagine for a moment that for a few breaths we're breathing in the perfect, holy presence of God. As though there's nothing else. I actually feel this peace or joy or happiness, oneness, whatever it is that I've chosen. Breathe it in, breathe it in, breathe it in. And then going back to where we started, which is, what would you like, my beloved? You have the consciousness, so Spirit then says, What would you like to manifest from this consciousness? Not to get this consciousness, you already have it. If you thought a partner is going to make you happy, you already are happy now. So what kind of partnership would reflect the happiness? Not give you happiness. Envision it, and envision it so vividly that you can actually feel as though it's already happened. It's true. You imagine that it's real so much it would be almost challenging to not smile right now as you're in this room, because it's happening. If you really viscerally get that if you were looking for health and wholeness, it's happening, then you should be smiling a little more. I'm not saying always literally on the outside, and you don't need to smile to impress me or anybody watching you, but something should happen inside, like a yes. And when that shifts, you're already over the hump towards that manifestation. No visceral response, the head is still in the way. And that's all right. This too shall pass. Last but not least, never ask for anything that you wouldn't wish upon another. So can you think of anyone, whether you call them a friend or an enemy, is there anyone you want to gift this to? If you asked for health, who would you like to gift it to? Happiness, who would you gift it to? And then a couple centering breaths and slowly reintegrate back into the room. Do your best to feel like you've accomplished something. Bring that feeling with you. And so it is. Nice.